Good afternoon to you. I just wanted to make a MP3, not MP3, a YouTube video to let you know what's ahead for you, and just to finish off this class. I wanted to mention, if you have not submitted the summary of sources for your consumer report, I really do need to see those. Those were due Friday the 11th, but there are still some students that have not submitted those. Do them in a memo format, and then at the very beginning as well, make sure to list the product name. I mean, like the brand and the model. That really helps, because I was telling another student, like for example, with just the Toyota Camry, I mean, they have the lowest rated version, which is the L, then they have the LE, which is most popular, which has the most standard features for the money. That's like $23,000, but they have the SE, they have the XLE, they probably have the Limited. Then you can get a 4-cylinder, you can get a V6, you can get a sporty model, you can get navigation. I mean, a Toyota Camry can, in essence, cost from around low 20s to high 30s. So you have a pretty broad range. So I'd really like to know the brand and the model number. And then, like I said, with your sources, your summary of sources, I don't want to read ones that just say the website, it was a great product and it's really versatile. I actually read some today on golf drivers, and they were very specific. As the student said, it weighs this many ounces, it has a head of this size. And that helps to know that sort of detail, because it really is important. If you ever buy a snowblower, when, some of you are homeowners and some are not, but when you buy a snowblower, and if you own a driveway and walks of any size, you would be so much better off buying a 2-stage snowblower, which means if you have 12 or 14 inches of snow, with a 2-stage snowblower, a better one, you can blow off the snow the first pass through, and it blows at 30 or 40 feet. I used to have a 5-horsepower smaller snowblower, 2-stage, for my mother's driveway, and I think I bought a 10-horsepower Husqvarna. The thing is a beast, but I mean, it just blows the snow off, and it works really well. But the kind that I bought is called prosumer, which means it's not a consumer brand model, but it's not a professional one, but it's in the middle. But that's more than sufficient, for what my needs are. So, but this brand, I mean, it has like steel gears. It has a light on it. It just has, larger tires. I don't know what size the tires are, but the other ones were just mini tires. These are larger tires. It has drift cutters. So those are some of the advantages and benefits. And my mom lives in the snow belt, and so, but as I said, it just really goes through and works really well, and it's quite important to have those kind of features. So, as I said, with the summary of sources, I need to see more of the features, advantages, benefits, or the pros and cons. And with the resume assignment, if you weren't able to get that approved, once you do get it approved, then you can forward it to me so I can take a look at it. So I just wanted to mention to you, for Friday, July 18th, the written instructions are due, and I'm going to give you some suggestions in writing those that I think would be helpful to you. At the very beginning, you have estimated time and cost, but even before that, what you can do is you can just add a section to give, you can just say instructions for making a cheesecake or whatever, but at the very beginning, you can make a list of the key points you're going to be covering and the most critical point. And in the same way, you could do that in final reminders. So you really, just like if you watch one of these cooking shows, the chef will say, if you're going to be making quiche, or if you're going to be making this dessert, this is what you really need to do. And so that's what you really want to do, is give a synopsis and then stress the most critical point. When you do estimated time, you want to make sure to think that it's going to be a person who is a novice, not a person who has done this many times. I have a student that's an auto detailer, and if you do, 10 cars a week, then you could probably detail a car in an hour and a half. If you've never done it before, it's probably going to take you 3.5 hours, to do it. So that's what you need to consider. And then with the estimated cost, not only do you have to consider materials, but if you have to buy certain items, like if you're going to be changing your oil and you don't have jack stands or you don't have some of the other items, then you can just buy them, but then you would have them and you wouldn't have to keep buying, you wouldn't have to worry about buying that in the future. If you have a motorcycle, one of the best things to have is like a motorcycle jack. And so you can change tires, you can change the oil, the differential fluids and just different things in it. And it's just much, much more, advantageous. So anyhow, what I would encourage you to do is to put a spreadsheet into your document, and then you can add up the cost. And so the person can see how much everything is. So you have the estimated time, and then you have the estimated cost. Now, when you actually get into the instructions, first of all, I'm not a big advocate of clip art. It's just like clip-on ties. Clip-on ties don't look natural, and clip art doesn't do much. If it's your last choice, if you have the other choice, then that's okay. But if you can take your own visuals, if you have a digital camera or a smartphone, that would be fine with me. But you need at least 5 visuals. Now, naturally, you're allowed to use more than that, and then you can even use screenshots. If you want to use a website, I have no opposition to that as long as they're good images. However, what I don't want you to do is don't use all these mismatched images. I had a student last year that had an Acura vehicle, and he changed her front fender on it, but it looked like 4 different cars. The images were not consistent, so strive for consistency of images. And then one suggestion that you can do is if you want to, you can use headings as far as like gather the ingredients, mixing the ingredients, spooning out the batter, and then beneath those you can have like 3 or 4 steps. Now make sure that when you do your instructions, there's a chapter in our book, chapter 8, I think it goes from about page, 232 to maybe 233, but it covers how to write instructions. But one of the biggest things that they tell you is to start off your sentences with commands like position, adjust, grasp, measure, and so on. And so those are really, really important. And then so you only want to have 1 command per sentence. And then as you go along, you can give notes or tips for points to be aware of. Now, if you realize that people will run into certain problems, and if you want to point those out, you are certainly more than welcome, to do that. Because, like, for example, I am Eastern European, and so when I lived in San Diego, I attempted to make halupki, which are stuffed cabbage, but I didn't wrap the halupki tightly enough, and some of the contents spilled out. So I learned a little bit better actually how to wrap them, and even sometimes I would even use toothpicks and put them through them so they would stay wrapped. But that was something, that I learned. My father-in-law, Joe, he was a master glassmaker for 30-some years. When he retired, he didn't know what to do with himself, so he started to make nut rolls. And at the first time that he made them, they were so bad that he threw them out for the birds, and the birds wouldn't eat them. But he learned along the way as far as like what to do, as far as to get fresh yeast. He didn't have fresh yeast initially, and then even how to grind up the nuts, the walnuts, and how to make them, tasty, but not too coarse or not too fine. And, how to wrap them right, so the contents doesn't spill out and so on. And so he learned, but he always would give, tips or suggestions and so on, to other people that were doing the same thing. And my wife made them recently, and they were just fantastic. So again, you're anticipating problems and telling what to do about them. So like if you have soup and it's too salty, you can add potatoes into it, and it takes away some of the saltiness of the soup. You naturally don't have to throw the soup out. But again, your notes or tips, you can use in-text emphasis as far as that goes. If you're dealing with something safety related, you can use yellow highlighting. You can use capital letters. You can use red colored font. You can do all those, because I had somebody last year that did donning self-contained breathing apparatus as a firefighter, and she actually showed how to put all the equipment on, the boots, the pants, you have the suspenders, and you have this fire jacket, and you have gloves and a helmet, but this breathing apparatus, she really focused on that a good deal, and it was very, very helpful to do. I had a student last year that did how to to groom an aggressive pet that can bite. Not only how to get it under control, but how to muzzle it and so on. and then also how to, deal with these pets that are difficult. This is very, very informative. Somebody last year did detailing a car, and he was really thorough, but again, he anticipated some problems because some people have dirty, messy cars, and so he explained how to do that. When you get to the very end, like with the final reminders, make sure to review and then restate the key points and the most critical point, and then tell the person, hey, the first time through this isn't going to be perfect, but as you do this more and more times, it does get better and better. So anyhow, those are the instructions on the 18th. There's a discussion board due on the 18th. You just need to respond to it once by the 18th. If you submit your consumer report by Friday midnight the 18th, you get plus 20 points. For the next week, there's a letter due for July 21st. That's basically telling somebody how to be successful in an online course and how to navigate through Blackboard. It's not a really hard letter to write. It's just basically, this is what you need to do. But I can tell you, though, as of this point, we have 40 students. We started with 50, so we lost 10 students in this class this summer. And some people just didn't have the organizational skills to succeed. Some people had other jobs that they had to do and so on. But these online classes, I mean, you do lose some students along the way. Anyhow, if you're organized, then people do make it through. So that's the first letter. Now, the second letter is due by Friday, July 25th, and you have two options. The first option is you can write about a problem or a dangerous intersection. Some people are a dangerous road, a dangerous bridge. Some people actually take their own images, and there's some examples and assignments, or you can use Google Maps. That's fine. The second option that you have is to write why WCCC needs an instructional technologist, which I hope we will get. Our IT director, Pat McCullough, says at Pitt of Greensburg they have one, and they have like a third of the number of students. So I do hope that we get one here at this college, and I hope that'll become a reality. So anyhow, you have two options for that one. If you submit your consumer report by the 25th, you'll gain an additional 10 points. I wanted to tell you from Sunday the 20th to Friday the 25th, I'm going to be at Gettysburg for training, and so my response to emails and so on will be more in the morning and more in the afternoon because I have class during the day. So just wanted to mention that to you. And then the last thing, and then again, if you submit your consumer report by the 25th at midnight, Friday the 25th, you'll get 10 more points. There's one last discussion board due by Friday, August 1st for the consumer report, and then the consumer report itself is due by Friday, August 1st at midnight and no later because I just need to get those done. And that's it. So I just wanted to give you a quick update. Thank you.